Okay, welcome everybody. I think we're pretty much 12:30, depending on where your clock is. Welcome to the 1Spatial's FME World Fair for 2021. This is our first session where we will be presenting some user cases and presenting information on FME. I'd like to start by just giving you a bit of an introduction video to what 1Spatial is about, and this will give us a bit of time for the stragglers to join in. Welcome. My name is Andre Mikika. I am the country manager for 1Spatial Australia, and I'd like to welcome you all along to our first session and just give you a bit of a run through on 1Spatial and what we're about. We've had over 50 years of providing innovation and development for the geospatial industry. We have our head office is in Cambridge in the UK. We have offices in Ireland, Belgium, France, Tunisia, US, and in Australia. And in Australia, we have offices in Sydney and in Melbourne. We provide, we also have a number of technology partners, and the major one that we are with is Safe Software. And we are here today as our partnership as a premier platinum partner for 1Spatial. For Safe Software, providing for safe software product, FME. We work in key industries, government, utilities, transport, mining, etc. Down below, you see we have a number of organisations that we deal with across the board through government, local, state, federal, and a number of private and larger organisations. Who are we? We are a software solution provider and a global expert in managing location and geospatial data. We are striving to make the world safer, smarter, more sustainable for the future. We want to help customers to unlock the value of their data to create a smarter world. We deliver powerful data solutions and applications on-premise, mobile, and in the cloud. We are customer-centric. We deliver solutions that address your needs, and we collaborate with the people that we work with. Our solutions that we offer As you've seen, we have our 1Spatial management suite, and in particular for the next 2 hours, we're going to be, or an hour and a half, we are going to be talking in particular about our FME products that we offer. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce you to our team, the Australian 1Spatial team. Andrew Bashfield, our sales manager, Simon Laird, our services lead, Emma Yates, marketing manager, Tom Farrington, senior consultant and manages our training, FME training, Daniela White, our sales consultant assistant, and also helps with the training facilities and our annual maintenance renewals. Michael Stoddard, a sales consultant. Priyantha Pelagama, senior consultant. Sam McDonald, senior consultant. And Ashish Manandahar, a senior consultant. And myself as the country manager for 1Spatial. Today's attractions, 7th of May, we will be providing you a message from Adi Bakatari, our APAC channel manager for Safe Software. We'll be showcasing some customer presentations where we'll be talking about the role of documentation of cultural heritage by Assis Manandahar, who works for us, and it's a project that he's very been involved with from a personal point of view and very passionate about, and I'll let him talk about it. The other one we'll be talking about utilising FME for self-service. Will be a bit of a panel discussion with Paul Drummond from Northeast Regional Water and Simon Laird, who will be talking about what they did for there. Andrew Bashfield will then do a presentation on what's on offer from 1Spatial for 2021. And then we'll have a Safe Software update from the Safe team. I'd like to take this opportunity now to introduce you to Adi Bakatari from Safe, and I will hand it over to you.
Thanks, Andre, and good morning, everyone. Hope you're all having a fantastic Friday, and it's a pleasure for me to be a part of this. I'm thankful for 1Spatial for asking me to be a part of this. So yeah, as Andre mentioned, my name is Artie, and I have the pleasure of overseeing our partners in the Asia Pacific region. I work very closely with the 1Spatial team, and I'm not sure if I'm able. Oh, there we go. So today, what we're going to do very briefly is just go over the FME platform and a little bit of a brief history of Safe Software for those who might not know. At Safe Software, our goal is to address solving data challenges and addressing what we like to refer as data silos. Organizations are always going to be looking for the best fit applications for their business, and every department is always going to be looking for that application that they need in order to have their processes run smoother and simpler. But what typically happens in these situations when each department purchases their own application is that this creates silos, and it makes it difficult for these applications to talk to each other if there's no integration strategy in place. And sometimes getting information in and out of these systems can be quite manual and time consuming. And our goal is to allow the business users and the technical users to not worry about the data integration side and focus on other areas of business that are of equal importance, which is where FME comes into the picture. So FME at a high level is a enterprise data integration and application integration platform, and we connect all different types of applications. Doesn't matter what type of application it is, as long as it's some sort of open system and there's an API, we can connect to it no problem. And if there's no API, we can even work very closely with our development team in order to build out a custom transformer, custom reader and writer if necessary. And this is exactly what we're addressing, is connecting all these different systems together and allow the business users to get the information they need, not just in real time, but to have the data converted properly, the data translated properly, and the data sent to the correct places, all without any sort of manual codes or scripts being required. Our mission statement at Safe Software is very simple. It's to help you maximize the value of your data, no matter where it's stored, no matter what application you're using, no matter who needs access to that information. We're data agnostic, and our goal is to make sure you're getting the value you need out of the data in order to empower you to make the business decisions necessary. A bit of a brief history of Safe Software. We started back in 1993 by our two co-founders, Dale and Don. When they started back in 1993, it was addressing GIS challenges that the BC Forestry Ministry was facing here locally in Canada. Oops, I went. The BC Forestry Ministry was facing some data challenges when it came to spatial data back in 1993, and Don and Dale helped address that challenge. And from there, FME was born, and the organization Safe Software was born, and we have only grown as an organization from there. And today we have the pleasure of working with over 10,000 organizations worldwide. We have customers in over 128 different countries, including Australia, of course. And as a software vendor, our go-to-market strategy is to work very closely with our partners and our ecosystem, such as 1Spatial, who not only act as an extension of our business when it comes to providing things like such as local pricing, local support, local services, but also to act as an extension by offering customization when it comes to training or any services that's required to the end clients. Here's an overview of the FME platform for those who might not be familiar. And the platform always starts off with the desktop over here on the far left. The desktop is where you go and build your workflows, and you create those workflows, and you build the integration or the data conversions. And once you've built that, then you move into FME Server, and FME Server is where you're able to start looking at automation, whether it's event-based triggers or a database trigger, and it's completely hands-off and allowing the data to be processed as the events or as the trigger is occurred. Both FME Desktop and FME Server are on-premise solutions. The deployment options are very flexible. Again, we're very data agnostic in that sense. For customers that want to have a hosted version of FME Server, we have our FME Cloud offering available. And FME Cloud is, as you would imagine, exactly FME Server, with the only exception being it's hosted on our AWS infrastructure here at Safe Software, to allow the customers to have a peace of mind from an infrastructure perspective, but still be able to utilize the true power of FME Server when it comes to automations. And lastly, we have the FME Mobile that we have been promoting, and there's a lot of cool augmented reality apps that are being built with FME Mobile. Right now, they're native to iOS, and we are definitely looking at increasing that capability to Android soon as well. And all of this, again, is done without any sort of codes or scripts required. FME is the best data integration platform with the best support for spatial data and non-spatial data as well. Here's an overview of some of the data types that we've supported since our inception back in 1993. So when we first originally started, it was a lot of CAD to GIS and GIS to CAD conversions. And as our organization started to grow, and as the need for FME started to grow and increase, and customer demand started to increase, we started to add more and more support to FME in order to have it be really a scalable solution that can address all different types of data challenges within an organization. So being able to connect to a database is something that we fully support now, connecting to cloud applications, connecting to big data, indoor mapping. We have a wonderful relationship with Apple on the IMDF side. And of course, as our world is moving more towards the augmented reality and virtual reality and machine learning, FME and Safe Software are looking at that very closely and ensuring that we can provide the proper support necessary so our customers are able to leverage those technologies within their organizations while using FME to integrate that data. I'd like to also highlight this. It's a recognition we got from Gartner last year. We were recognized by Gartner on the Magic Quadrant for data integration tools. And you'll see us right over here under the niche category. And this speaks really strongly, not just to our niche focus of being the best platform for supporting spatial data integration, but also the fact that we also do non-spatial data integration as well. So again, no matter what type of applications the organization is using and what the needs are of the business, our goal is to connect all these applications together to ensure that you're able to get the information that you need to make the business decisions. Here's an overview of some of our technology partners that we're very proud to work with. Of course, we're very strong partners of Esri and Autodesk, and we're also partners with Microsoft. We've recently formed a strategic partnership with Snowflake on the cloud database side. And we also have a very strong partnership with IBM and CityWorks as well when it comes to the asset management side of the business as well. Again, as I mentioned, Safe Software and FME were very data agnostic, and the deployment options with FME are quite truly endless. Whether you want to deploy FME on Windows, Mac, Linux, Docker, Kubernetes, it's completely up to you, and you're able to choose whichever is best fit for your organization. And for those that are looking to leverage FME server, but they want more of a hosted option of FME server, we of course again have FME Cloud, which is fully hosted by Safe Software on our AWS infrastructure. For customers that want to deploy FME in their own private clouds, we have the FME platform available in both a Google Cloud Marketplace as well as a Microsoft Azure Marketplace. Both of these are on a bring your own license strategy. So if you don't currently have a FME instance, you would need to work closely with 1Spatial in order to acquire the FME instance before you can deploy FME in these cloud marketplaces. And as always, we offer free trials here at Safe Software for our FME platform. The FME desktop trial is for a 30-day trial, which can definitely be extended if needed. And the FME server trial is for a 60-day trial, which can again be extended if necessary. And if you don't have a FME trial right now, please visit safe.com/trial or work with 1Spatial in order to get the trial in your hands. And with that being said, I think I'm going to give it back to the 1Spatial team.
Thank you, Adi. Very much appreciated. And
my pleasure.
We do thoroughly enjoy working with you. Okay. Our next presenter is Asis Manandahar, who is a senior consultant with 1Spatial Australia. His presentation, I'm not going to pinch his thunder. He will give you a run through on it. But as I said, it is a passion of his from his native land where he is from. And we will hand it over to you, Asis.
Thanks, Andre.
Just bear with me while I give you control.
Sure.
There you go.
Okay. Thanks, Andre. Hi, and welcome to everyone here at FME World Fair 2021. I hope you are enjoying this FME World Fair, and I hope you'll enjoy this presentation as well. Today, I'm going to take you on a journey on describing how FME was used in the documentation and also for conservation of cultural heritage sites, namely the Jivas and Chaityas of Kathmandu, Nepal. I am Asis Manandar, senior consultant here at 1Spatial Australia, and also a member of Jiva Chaitya organization, Kathmandu, Nepal. Today, I'll be talking about Chiva Chaitya. So I'll be starting with what Chiva and Chaitya is. Why are they listed as cultural heritage? What are the current issues surrounding its conservation? I'll be talking about the issue that we had, particularly the GIS issue, and also be talking about the GIS solution that we implemented, and also how FME has played a key role in this GIS solution. Finally, I'll talk about the further challenges that we are facing and our future plans. So what are Chivas and Chaityas? Chivas and Chaityas are Buddhist shrines built by the general public in public places in and around Kathmandu Valley. These are beautiful Buddhist monuments established in and around Kathmandu Valley. And this culture of establishing Chivas is one of a kind in the world. These monuments can be found in public roads, alleys, courtyards, private hills, literally everywhere in Kathmandu. These are built as a remembrance for deceased relatives or as a respect to Buddhist philosophy. They are generally 2 meters in height, but some of them can be as large as 50 meters, like the ones seen in the picture right now, which is the Swayambhu Mahachaitya. While some can be as small as 30 centimeters. Most of them are stone carvings, but some of them can be bricks or clay mold as well. We expect that there are about 2,000 to 2,500 Chivas in and around Kathmandu Valley. It is archaeologically important because some of the Chivas that are found in public places in Kathmandu are about 1,500 years old. And it is a window for us to research about the culture back then. Culturally, it is a symbol of a distinct form of Buddhism practiced by the indigenous Newar community of Kathmandu Valley. Hence, it is very unique. And religiously, it is very important because the locals worship it daily and is part of their daily life. With these key features, it was also listed as in the World Monuments Watch 2020. Although the Chivas are respected and worshipped, some of them have been encroached and even destroyed. Unplanned urban planning in urban development in Kathmandu Valley has led to loss of open space and hence destruction and encroachment of the Chivas. Sometimes lack of awareness, such as general public unknowingly damaging the Chivas by using modern techniques like painting or cement reconstructions, like loses its historic importance or archaeological importance. In the technical side of things, there is an important issue, which is the lack of reliable data. Since Chivas were established by the general public without any help from any government or organization and are established in public places, there is no record or a single record of all the Chivas. So we don't actually know where the Chivas have been established, who established them, or what the state or condition is right now. So this has been an issue in the conservation of Chivas. So in 2012, a group of volunteer heritage enthusiasts, my colleagues at Chiva Chaitya organization, realized the importance and started and came together to tackle the issues of its conservation. They started to record Chivas and Chaityas by taking photographs of them whenever they found the Chivas in public places, and also logged the details in spreadsheet. However, after some time, it was quite clear a map was required to properly understand where to properly understand the location of chivas. They were having difficulty in distinguishing which chivas had been recorded before. The fact that chivas have been established all over Kathmandu made it very difficult to properly record each one of them. Hence, a GIS solution was required. And in the GIS requirement, some of the requirements were it had to be very easy to use because of lack of technical skills of the volunteer heritage enthusiasts. And also, it has to be like not too intrusive in the current workflow. The current workflow being the enthusiasts go out and take photographs in the field with their own mobile or cell phones. So within a few years, they had collected a lot of photographs and field inspection data. And the main requirement of this project was to extract data from the photos to build a map, because it was there were too many photographs or too many records already obtained. So we had to choose from a wide variety of softwares like Esri ArcGIS, Google My Maps, QGIS, GIS Cloud. So we had a lot of photos. Most of them had location data in them, and we wanted to build a map which could be used in the field, mostly offline. We tried with both offline and online mode and different other platforms. And here, FME has played a very important role because with FME, we were able to rapidly develop and test different output formats and different platforms. And in this process, we were able to realize that using KML file tabs with an inline image, a sampled image of the photos as an attribute in the image, in the feature itself, was a very good solution or workable solution for us. And an FME can also read in the photos with this JPEG reader and extract the location data from the photos and even convert it to the KML file that we want. So FME has played a very key role in this solution. We chose KML file because we could save images as an attribute in the feature itself. Other GIS file types such as shapefile, map info, etc., do not support this, and mostly in such kind of projects, the photos are saved separately in a folder in some file server, but that was not bit feasible for us. Hence, we went with a KML map with inline images. So the process solution was the users go out in the field, collect data. That is, they take photographs from the mobile cameras, which has location or GPS enabled, recorded in spreadsheet, and then this data is passed on to FME in roughly fortnightly basis, and FME will process the data, generate or update the KML file. The KML file is then pushed to the users, and then they can load it up in their mobile application, especially like maps.me app in their Android phone, or even Google Earth app. So they can view these. So they can view which Shivas have been inspected before, and start collecting the data for other Chivas which have not been inspected. This map can be used and is being used to analyze other GIS parameters as well, using QGIS, and it is a continuous process, and we are continuously collecting data, processing through FME, generating KML, and using it in the field. So this process has been integrated into the current workflow. So as a result, I'd say a map of all Chivas, all recorded Chivas and Chaityas was generated. As of March 2021, we have recorded about 1,077 Chivas. We are getting there, like for the to get all the Chivas recorded. In the picture on the right, you can see the Kathmandu Valley and all the Chivas that we have recorded till now. And if you click on any of the Chivas, we can see the inline image that I was talking about. So it is a sampled image of the original JPEG file. And this gives a lot of visibility as to understand which Chiva has been recorded in the field. So this is a desktop Google Earth application, but it appears similarly in maps.me or Google Earth mobile application. So our future plans is to understand or get details of the Chivas, start restoration of other damaged Chivas as well. Till now, we have restored about 6 Chivas, like fully destroyed Chivas and restored, which have been destroyed before. Other future plans, we would like to engage in archaeological inspection, like getting more details of the inspection and having proper periodic inspection as well. And I'm sure that FME will play a role in that project too. Yeah, in conclusion, I would like to say that FME has helped in rapidly designing and testing various output formats and output and various softwares. Without FME, the data conversion from photos and merging with spreadsheets would have been very difficult. Yeah, the output using this technology has really enhanced our capability for documentation of these important heritage sites. And it has enabled in our effort in heritage protection. So if you want to learn more about Chiva Chaitya, please visit chivachaitya.org.np or follow on Instagram or Facebook. So with that, I'd like to conclude my presentation. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask and I will endeavor to answer them. With that, I'd like to pass it back to Andre.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm just seeing if we've got any questions. I do have a question for you, Assis. You mentioned that the Shivers are in Kathmandu and exclusive to the Kathmandu Valley. So obviously that means that you don't find it outside of Kathmandu. But is there something similar to that that's outside in other valleys of Nepal that this could be taken to, etc.?
Well, it is like Buddhist small shrines like Chivas are can be found in like other places of Nepal as well. But Chivas are unique because the carvings in the Chivas are follows like the indigenous Newar culture. So it's part of the Newar Buddhist philosophy, I would say. So that's why like Chivas and Chaityas are unique to Kathmandu.
Okay, thank you. I do have a bit of a technical question. You mentioned that
Yep.
you ended up setting up the system to be in KML because the alternative of having systems where photos, etc., were held in separate databases wasn't going to work. In what way was that? And what was the constraints that were in play that pushed that out, if you like?
Yeah. So for that, we needed to have like if we used a shape or map info file format and stored the images in a folder and have the link of those files into as an attribute, we could do that, but we need a online server where we would be able where we would host the images and like because we are a volunteer organization and due to budget constraints we didn't opt to that path because we'd have to bear the cost of the cloud server or cloud storage as well. So yeah, we tested out different file formats. We've tested out like ArcGIS Online and even GIS Cloud, but yeah, but with the costs and all, we thought this would be a good fit for this project.
Thank you, Assis. Okay. There's no other questions. We'll move on. Thank you very much, Assis. And
just a second, Dean here. I just had a quick question.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks for the great presentation and a nice, a very practical solution there. I was just curious, and you said when you described the solution, there was some processing happening in Excel and analysis in QGIS. I was just curious what processing steps you were doing in those tools in Excel and QGIS. Thanks.
Yeah. So before the project started, the volunteers used to go in the field and take photographs and like record the like location address, like a rough address in spreadsheets along with some details like if it is damaged, like a degree of damage in spreadsheet. So it did have the file, image file name as well in that record. So in FME, I used, so I pulled in all the image from the JPEG reader and then also pulled the data from the Excel spreadsheet. So to put it in and in the map, I put in the attributes such as which date it was inspected and the level of this, conservation required, and also the image as a sampled image in an attribute itself. So that's the spreadsheet. And for QGIS analysis, we have produced some heat maps as well, like where mostly in Kathmandu Valley, the concentration of chivas and chaitas are. I think we haven't really delved into researching into it, but like we have built heat maps, and that gives us a bit more understanding on where the chivas are like established.
Okay, yeah, great, thanks. In particular, that is interesting how you use the Excel as essentially for the input attributes, and in an easy to use tool that people are used to. So that's cool. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? You have the option. You can either unmute yourself and ask the question, or you can type it in the chat window. Okay. As there are no more, thank you, Assis, and we'll move on to our next presentation. Our next presentation is a joint presentation, I believe. Paul Drummond, who works for Northeast Regional Water, and their presentation is going to be on how they automated FME for their validation processes, etc. So on that, I will hand over to Paul and Simon Laird, I believe. And if you want to...
That's right. Thanks, Andre.
Yep.
I'll jump in here. Paul, I
Yep.
think you're on the line. You should be able to unmute
Yep.
yourself.
I'm here.
And...
Yep.
Oh, great. Welcome, Paul.
And
So we're going to do this one a little bit differently.
Sorry, Simon. Just Paul, did you want to? I'm just trying to find you in the list to put your video back on.
I've got that covered.
There you are. Beautiful.
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you.
So we're going to do this one a little bit differently. Rather than just having Paul present a series of slides, we thought we might do this as a bit of more of an open discussion around FME server technology, and sort of self-serve in the utilities space. So joining us today is Paul Drummond. I might now ask Paul if you'd like to provide a bit of an introduction to yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Northeast Water, which covers over 20,000 square kilometres of mountains, valleys and floodplains, is located on the Murray River of northeast Victoria, and employed me in late April of 2019 as the GIS coordinator. I am raw to the water utility sector, as I was previously employed by City of Wodonga in local government. So my background is IT based, but I'm really finding the water industry very interesting and challenging, with a change in focus from the property-based data to lineal-based data and the precision that's required there.
Great. Thanks for that, Paul. I might ask, we just turn our videos off now and we can just continue the discussion with the slide that we have that has our, I guess, our details and the topic on. So yeah, we're here to talk about self-service with FME server, and really going to, I think, start with the ASCON project. So Paul, do you want to provide a bit of a background into the ASCON project?
Yeah, sure. As most can imagine, we have many engineers and consultants working for us who mainly work in a CAD environment. And understandably, they do this for good reason, to enable them to efficiently create their designs and provide Northeast Water with designs and finally as constructed or as built drawings for importing into our system. Last year, we moved our GIS environment from a CAD-based system that dealt with CAD drawings quite well to the new Esri utility network model. We were the first in Australia to implement the utility network in the water sector, so we're still finding our feet a bit here. Migration, the GIS migration was scoped initially to replace the previous environment, which meant that the new system needed to do whatever the old system did and then some. There were many reasons why our business did this, which we probably don't have time to discuss here, but ultimately it created a problem for us that we needed to A, get the new system to export a clip of our network to a CAD template for our consultants, contractors to work from or connect to, and B, after manipulation of and added assets, allow that modified template to be imported into the new utility network.
Yeah, so it sounded like you have, I guess, quite a lot of change going on at the same time as this project was being stood up and developed. So within your organisation, like workflow of what your BAU and what you do, how did the project come about?
Well, the old system had a CAD-based desktop validation method. It was expensive to run and bespoke to the point that no one was going to touch it for fear of breaking it. The system required some simple spatial requirements like snapping, line direction, blocks. It also checked for some attribute fields that weren't null, but no real logical tests. When I first arrived at Northeast Water, I found that the GIS team were spending a lot of time helping consultants and staff with these drawings, just to get them to a point that the system would validate. the GIS team was sort of seen as personal assistants, if you like, who would just keep helping them fix their issues. Although there are a lot of good ones, some consultants would send them in, the team would respond with the issues, they would try again, team would respond with the issues, etc., etc. It would have been much easier or much faster for us to fix the issues, but we're not the engineers, and I refuse to take that responsibility of modifications that may not have been correct. Each iteration of fixes that took place would also go through the project manager here. So the email trails were at times quite long. But part of the issue, I think, was that our team was highly skilled in CAD, not me, but the rest of the team, and had a mindset of wanting to help everyone, which, you know, they're both great assets. And I thought, although I'm not an expert, I've been an avid user of FME for many years. I knew the functionality was available to do these validations automatically and build something that was public facing so a user could upload a file. I knew my skill set wasn't good enough, nor did I have the time, so I went to search for companies that can use FME to build complex workbenches. It seems there's not enough or not too many companies in Australia that do this kind of work, so I approached 1Spatial, who I dealt with in my previous employment. That's when I first spoke with you, Simon, and explained what I thought was possible. You seemed to agree that the concept could work, and you had some other good ideas, but I think you would also agree that it was a really hard one to define the scope of, as it was a bit of a moving target. And I must thank 1Spatial for this. I think that your team spent a fair bit more time on it than first thought. We also had to dedicate a GIS resource, Erin, to build the CAD templates. Erin was already working hard on the GIS migration to Esri, working from home and homeschooling, but it had to be done hand in hand. So we had a process for when we went live with the Esri environment in October last year. So we created the As Constructed Drawing Certification Portal. Erin also spent a fair bit of time creating instructional guide and videos as learning tools. Ultimately, we would not like our business to see a drawing until it has been validated through the portal, but realistically, we're still helping a few of the consultants that refuse to read the guide or watch the videos. So the workflow is on validation of the drawing file. The project manager gets an email with the validated file attached. They open it up and check that it matches the works that have been executed. The email also has a link to a second portal app that can enter, the project manager can enter the project number and either one, pass, which will send to the GIS for upload, or two, fail with comments of any modifications that are required. Both options send an email to the consultant updating them on progress, but if it's a fail, the consultant then makes the modification and uploads again through the validator, so they're restarting the loop. As we are still experiencing some issues validating some attributes, the GIS team also gets to view the file on validation, so they can send a file with comments back along with any from the project manager. That's about it.
Yeah, so great. It's quite a journey you've covered there, Paul, that's happened in the last 12 months, from going from a team that's, you know, maybe not their primary focus, but what they were focused on was, you know, manually validating drawings and trying to spend the time to educate and inform your third parties that you work with around perhaps what their drawing was lacking or missing or hadn't quite met in terms of your requirement, through a large GIS migration, through to the development of this new tool and portal, through to really a sort of a slightly different way of working and being able to deliver the you know, the services that your team delivers within Northeast Water. So now that we've got to this point, can you share any details on whether it delivers value as a tool and a platform that you use?
Yeah, for sure. It's so far reduced the amount of time fixing simple issues that should have been picked up early in the design process, and it delivers a product that is formatted and standardized for direct import into the utility network. So it's not yet perfect. Consultants are clever, and whatever rules you put in front of them, they always seem to find shortcuts. Some little things like copy pasting blocks instead of inserting them, and copying the same coordinate to every block just to get it validated. Our project managers still get a bit confused on when they pass or fail the drawing, because we've included the need for the GIS check prior to the decision being made. But on the whole, most consultants are really good and love the system. They submit as often as they like, and they're getting used to ensuring all the validation rules are correct before submitting. We have others that just want to get it through so they get paid, and they'll do whatever it takes to take every shortcut possible. But these consultants are getting less and less as we, being the GIS team, continually refuse to make the adjustments. They need to do these themselves and submit through the portal again. And slowly they're working out that they should probably just get it right the first time, and they get paid faster. Although there's still a bit of tweaking to do, the workflow has now resolved about 90%, I think, of the validation issues that we find coming in. Unfortunately, it doesn't test for the laziness or recklessness of some, but our intent is to look at a version 2.0 to resolve some of the highlighted issues.
That's great. That's really good to hear that you're getting the value out of the automation and freeing up resources to perhaps be spent on more valuable things within the business. So now, Paul, do we want to step into a bit of detail around what was built and how this is all put together?
Well, I'll give you the short bit. And we built two environments, a prod and a UAT. Each have two workbenches. External facing for the consultant. The workbench one is the external facing for the consultant to upload and validate, which we call the validation. And the other one is the internal workbench for the project manager to pass or fail with comments, which we call acceptance. The validation workbench is the most complex and has over 450 transformers, while the acceptance is relatively simple in comparison with only 35 transformers.
Yeah, that's great. I guess that's a good measure there of, I guess, the complexity of one, not only validating drawings in terms of their geometry, attribute, and their topological requirements within the drawing, but also what's required to actually go and implement that. So, do you want to touch on a few of the things that it does solve, Paul?
Yeah, sure. It does a few things. One, it relinquishes the requirement of the previous validation software that was expensive to run and administer, and only allowed the GIS team to validate drawings. This meant the GIS team were ultimately responsible for the correctness of the drawing. For most part, it frees up the GIS team's time that was being spent on the phone correcting issues that the drawings would come in with some degree of accuracy. And it also standardizes the drawing for a direct import to a version of the utility network dataset.
Are there any things that perhaps it doesn't quite solve?
Yeah, I guess we still have software requirements. We have FME server licensing now, and that was an initial investment that was made by the business to purchase server, but this is now available organisation-wide and being used for lots of other projects, which is great. It doesn't solve projection errors currently. We did put a test into the validator, but it's a limitation of AutoCAD that a projection can't be set in the template. And if anybody has any ideas on this, I'd be happy to hear them. It doesn't solve the smart people that find workarounds, and it doesn't solve human decisions like valve types and pipe sizes, where, for example, normally a sluice valve is used on a water main, but they can enter a gate valve, which is also possible, and pipe sizes.
Yeah, which I guess is really interesting, that there's some of those limitations around the software that you're receiving data from, or in that format, that then impact and, I guess, increase the amount of validation you need to do upon receipt, because you can't tie that down terribly tightly in AutoCAD, for example.
Yeah.
So from that, how does Northeast Water determine what's accepted?
For us, accepted means that the drawing passes all the spatial and attribute integrity rules. Some examples are invert elevation is lower than upstream inverts. Spelling of attributes, missing attributes are identified. All features have a block. All features are snapped. Features are on the correct layer. A common mistake is that the common block is inserted into the print space instead of the model space of the drawing, which the import process needs to read into an Esri version. And also those human choice issues it doesn't solve.
Of course. I'm now going to just provide a bit more of an in-depth description of what we built and what we've deployed. So as Paul said, there's two primary workbenches that underpin this. The first one, which is the validator, which is the quite complex one, that one actually receives the drawing, pulls it apart in terms of the layer structure, what it contains in terms of features, and then assesses the geometry and the topology of the data along with the attributes. Like Paul says, at the moment, projection is one that, with the shift from GDA 94 to GDA 2020, it's not as simple as it used to be with, say, AGD 66 or AMG 66 to MGA 94 coordinates to tell based on that 200 meter distance or offset that we had with that prior datum change. The GDA 94 to GDA 2020 difference is much smaller, so it's not as evident when someone gives you some data that it might be in the wrong coordinate system. So that workspace itself has been published to FME server. And the way it's actually deployed is that when consultants have a drawing or a project that they would like to submit a drawing for, they go to an FME server web app. And this is an out-of-the-box feature with FME server that you can deploy a fairly simple user interface that is secured. So consultants have to receive a login to access this. They log in and then they can submit the details about the project that they have completed, along with their drawing file, which then gets loaded up into FME server and then gets validated through this workspace. And as part of the workspace, it also logs that job into a SQL Server table. So we have traceability back in time of jobs that have been submitted, whether they were accepted or they've passed the validation, or whether they were attempts where the consultant received back a drawing file and a report to say, here's your drawing back. Unfortunately, there's a few errors in these 3 locations, for example, and here's a report to explain the rules of the drawing standard and what particular elements may have not met the requirements that are set. Upon pass, it goes through into Northeast Water. That's effectively the front door there. Once your drawing is passed, it then goes in the door for a human to cast their eye over and actually pass a higher level of validation there to actually check that what has been submitted, for example, is complete with what the project was supposed to include, along with some other things that perhaps you can't really automate terribly easily. And then that's after that process, that then is the point of acceptance, which is the other workbench that's been built. That is also exposed as a web app. So for Northeast Water GIS users, they don't have to necessarily know how the system or even how FME works. They just need to have that particular URL that they can go to, put in the details about the project and the drawing that they're accepting, and then can put in any comments they have that then can be recorded into that same SQL Server table to be recorded to say, this drawing's been accepted, and here's some comments to go along with that particular drawing for future reference. So Paul, in wrapping up, were there any other items or things you want to point out or draw attention to?
Yeah, there's been a fair shift in the ultimate responsibility of who now passes the drawing from GIS back to the project manager, which is where it should be. A minority have found it difficult to get their drawings validated. We've found, though, that these are the users that don't read the documentation or watch the videos. We're also about to release the ability for consultants to download their own data from the portal using clip, zip, and ship, which will remove us from the process until such time as the drawing is validated. And that will close the loop, which will be great.
Yeah, that's great. That's a really good use case or example of where in the past, GIS resources were heavily used to just move data in and out of the organization. And the more that you can automate that, obviously, the more time you have for higher value tasks. So that's great. Thank you very much, Paul, for joining us today. And I'd like to now see if there's any questions from the floor, if people had either in the chat. Andre, have you received any, or if anyone wants to unmute, feel free to.
Yeah, I have had a question from Carly Illingworth. Asked the question in two parts. One of them was, do you use server or cloud? I think you answered that question. It was server. And the next question, I think, is probably more for you, Paul. What was it a costly outlay?
I would say no. Relative to anything else that was available, I'd say it was very reasonable. Can I? Is that an answer?
That's an answer.
Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty. Yeah, that's fine. Carly says. So, is any other questions? Question here from Nigel Wells. Could topology and attribution be checked in combination to pick up issues such as valve type on different pipelines?
It could. It starts to get quite complex due to the sheer number of combinations you could have, Nigel, I would suspect, in terms of which pipe types and all the attributes that go with that particular type of pipe, thinking of different materials, different sizes, and so on, that then have a corresponding acceptable valve. But yeah, Paul, is that something that information is held, or at least known as to what those combinations would be?
Sorry, Simon. I tend to agree that it's possible that if there's a pipe size there and the valve size is different than what is snapped to the pipe size, then that topological reference could be applied. Having said that, is the pipe size correct in the first place? So there's that issue that there's still a human check that needs to occur.
Okay. There's no more questions coming in on the chat, so I'd like to thank you, Paul. Thank you very much for your time, and Simon, for your time, and well done. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Andre.
Our pleasure. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on. So I'll now hand over to Andrew Bashfield, who's going to do a presentation on what's on offer from 1Spatial for 2021.
Thank you, Andre.
I'll hand you the control. Just let me find you in the list. There you are. You now have control.
I have
you.
control of your screen. It's a dangerous
That's it.
ability
That's
to have, isn't it?
it's a very dangerous ability, but I trust you. Over to you.
Okay, thank you. Well, I just wanted to say to everybody, it's wonderful to be back online. And this is my second FME World event. When I joined the company a year ago, we were just getting into the previous World tour. So I hope you've all enjoyed the event so far, and I hope that you're able to attend our upcoming sessions, which include additional new customer stories. There we go. So far, you've seen examples of customer implementations from Northeast Water, and you've also seen how 1Spatial goes about to solve customer data management and quality issues. We introduced new licensing models in 2020, and let's have a look at them and see what the adoption's been. So you might remember we had a couple of new subscriptions, two in particular, which allowed unlimited use of FME desktop and FME server licenses. So instead of pricing being based on licenses, it was actually based on population for the local government subscription. I'm just taking that back. And on customers for the utility subscription. So it suits small water authorities and large water authorities. So that's the two styles of authorities that have actually taken up the utility subscription. And when we have a look at what the motivation has been for taking that up, it's number one, absolutely unlimited FME licenses. It's a very attractive proposition. Of course, there's always going to be limitations on how many staff you have as to how many licenses you could actually use. But the idea of not being constrained by license numbers is very attractive. Now, it happens that most customers already have existing licenses. Typically, our customers have the licenses on the desktop. So what's the key driver behind making the move to a utility subscription? It's the chance to implement FME server and to automate their workflows and not be constrained, again, by cost, because the cost is dictated by the number of customers that they have. So let's swing across to local government subscriptions. And thus far, we've got local government subscriptions in 4 states, and we're looking to expand that, of course. Local government subscriptions, again, very popular, this time based on population. You know, it's interesting, even when we have customers that have the local government subscription, sometimes we'll receive a support request and the customer will say, well, how do I order another license? Do I have to go through procurement? And we're really pleased to be able to tell them that once this annual license is in play, all they need to do is send us an email to kick off the process of generating a new license. So ordering a new license doesn't involve going through procurement again. Now, as part of our 1Spatial staff wellbeing initiatives, we recently had a Star Wars anniversary trivia quiz. And our Star Wars is not quite my thing, but I thought it was a way of introducing the next type of subscription. And that's enterprise subscriptions. And enterprise subscriptions have been far and away the most popular subscription. And part of the attraction is that it's available to any size company. You don't have to fit the criteria of the utility company or the local government. And it's an annual license. So this means that customers can get hold of extra licenses for an annual period, and maybe their project needs come and grow and then retreat. The license commitment is only for 1 year. Of course, not most customers will keep rolling that on and they'll end up growing. But the upfront commitment as far as your process of going through procurement is you're just looking at a 1 year period. So they've been very successful, both styles of annual licenses. But we've also had success with the implementation of FME dynamic engines. Now, you'd be familiar with a lot of the advantages of dynamic engines. The fact that with a dynamic engine purchase, you actually purchase time, not licenses, and you can ramp up to as many FME server engines as you have the hardware capacity. And they can be included in subscriptions. But when the customers tell us why they get dynamic engines, they appreciate the fact that they have some bursty usage, which means there's periods when they have a high need and there's periods when they have a low need. They don't really want to have extra engines sitting around idle when the needs are low. Sometimes they're seasonal, depends on the kind of business that they're involved in. They like the idea of paying just for the use of the license, not just for the capability of having it sitting there. It's unlimited when it's needed, and they like the lower upfront cost. So it's good that we're able to address customer needs by having so many different options on offer. Now, let's have a look at what's going to be on offer for the rest of this year and coming into the next year. And something that's a little different from licensing alternatives is targeted workflow services. So by that, I mean that there's been a number of repeat services that we've had requests for during the year, and we're now able to provide that as more of a packaged service. Now, those sort of services include GDA 2020 implementation planning, updated cadastre implementation. So many organizations, excuse me, are having to adopt new cadastres, and we can assist them in doing that. Positional accuracy improvement means taking not just the cadastre, but all the assets that organisation is responsible for, and making sure that when the new cadastre or base is adopted, the topology and the relationship between properties is maintained. As constructed submissions. So as Paul was saying, there's a common need within organisations to be able to accept outside data that may be in GIS form, but more often it's in AutoCAD form. And the quality control of that data is not always something that the custodian organisation can control. So it's really important to have some kind of screening process to ensure that what comes into your system has been validated. And rather than your organisation doing the corrections, our system will allow you to pass that responsibility back to the supplier organisation so that you don't have to accept their data until you know it's right. Now, one of the ways that you can assist that is by providing subsets of your data to the supplier, and that way, at the very least, they've got a base data set that you've controlled that they can place their changes on. At the same time, the concept of clip, zip, and ship is also extremely useful for you to be able to pass data sets out to your users in the organisation, but do it in an automated way so that you don't have to continue to act as a bureau service. This system is automatic and it's online. And there's some very specific workflows that are going to be introduced in coming months. One of them is leakage using machine learning. So basically the idea is that we can help you identify where there are leaks coming out of your network systems based on a whole series of information that we can process and give you automated answers. So is this the conclusion of my presentation, or is it the future of what's coming up? So your investment in FME is safe with 1Spatial because we're continually innovating. Machine learning and artificial intelligence techniques are coming to FME, and Australia is at the forefront of adopting new technology and new licensing models. And with that, Andre, I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you, Andrew. And I'm just having a look to see if we have got any questions. So at this point in time, it doesn't look like it.
We're always available.
We're always available for questions. So thank you very much, Andrew. And I will continue it on. I'd like to thank you very much, Andrew. That was well done. I do know that you have been suffering a cold, and you were struggling for a minute then. So thank you for pushing through.
I dried up pretty hard then.
So well done, and thank you very much for your efforts on that.
Okay.
So I would like to now just wrap up and take this opportunity to just run through what 1Spatial's FME services are. So we have skilled certified staff, as I mentioned at the very beginning of our session today. We are an international company. We have offices all over the world, and part of that is we have accredited desktop, server, and certified FME trainers on staff. We sell, support, and train FME, and we have been doing so in Australia since 2004, but corporately since 1999. So we've had a long and enduring history with Safe Software and the FME product, and will continue to do so. As I mentioned, we are the premier FME Platinum partner for Australia and for the UK and other parts of the organisation. We have a dedicated support for FME Desktop, FME Server, and FME Cloud. Simply by calling our 1300 290 686, you'll go through to our support team, or sending an email to support@1spatial.com will get you through to our dedicated support team. We also provide FME services where we facilitate the ability to evaluate the products and see if they'll be fit for purpose for your needs. And I think earlier on today, we had the example from Paul on how we came in and helped them to ascertain their needs. We provide FME consultancy services to ensure that we have the ability to provide services to our customers. You may well be running FME yourself, but you may find yourself in a situation that you don't have the time or the internal resources to be able to do the work for yourself. So we can provide that service for you. We can also assist you in producing products as you need as well. We run public and bespoke training services. So if you want to find out more about our training courses that are the public ones, on our website, under the training, there is a complete list and timetable of all of the training courses, and the training courses I'll go through in a minute as well. As I mentioned, our technical support at 1spatial.com will definitely get you to our support team. 1300 290 686, press number 1, and you go straight through to support. Our training, as I mentioned, we provide 3 published training courses that are accredited by SAFE, FME Desktop Basic, FME Desktop Advanced, and FME Server Authoring. We do face-to-face at our 1Spatial training facilities. Admittedly, over the last 12 months, this has not occurred due to the COVID situation. And we then had to switch to online training, which was very successful and provided people the opportunity to learn the FME products. We continue to provide the online training, but where it is feasible and practical, we are also now moving to face-to-face training again. If you are interested, we can provide you formal or customized training at your facilities or at our training facilities as well. For more details on this, contact us at sales.australia@1spatial.com, or again, call us on the 1300 290 686, but press 2 for sales and training. We will be running webinars throughout this year, where we will continue what we had done in 2020 with hot features from FME World Fair, which will follow on from this World Fair. We're going to take the best that has been presented and put it into a very short 2-hour webinar so that people can recap or find out if you haven't had the opportunity to hear things and find out different things because you've had other things to do. We'll be doing a webinar on GDA 2020, the next step, in July sometime. We are looking to continue to have our very successful speed dating with Don Murray, very successful arrangement whereby we have online face-to-face discussions where you can ask any question that you like of Don Murray, one of the founders and the president of Safe Software. If you are interested in that, please get in contact with Andrew or the sales team and put your name down. It is as you can imagine, well sought after, so you need to get in quick if you want to be involved in that. FME Server Month. Last year we've did a webinar on FME Server, and at the conclusion of it, we realized that really 2 hours is not enough time to go through everything that you can and could do with FME Server. So this year, what we will be doing in August is each week through the month of August, we'll have a 2-hour webinar talking about the good things and the tricks and that you can use FME Server for. We'll be having 1Spatial products about One Data Gateway and also the 1Integrate later in the year, and again, speed dating. These will be the online. We will also be attending live events as we are now starting to open up. We are looking to run a breakfast series to all major capitals in Australia in September. We will be attending a number of SSSI, which is the Surveying and Spatial Sciences Institute, who will be running conferences. So there's the South Australian Spatial Industry. I forget the acronym of what SID stands for. Apologies for that, but that is a very successful one-day conference that they run in, and it will be run in September. SSSI in New South Wales and ACT Regional Conference in October. Will be at the Sydney Build in November and the Victorian Surveying and Spatial Summit in November. I'd also like to, on my final thing that I'd like to talk about is we will be running at the conclusion of the World Fair end of financial year savings. 5 reasons to contact 1Spatial to maximize your savings. Get the latest version of FME 2021 and receive 12 months free maintenance and support. If you're running or you have old versions of FME and you would like to get them updated, get in contact with us to be able to run with the latest 2021 to get faster transformer speeds, increase automation control, and get access to the new formats and system support that are now available with the latest version of FME. If you want to, you can engage 1Spatial for our consultancy work. And for the month of, if you engage us in the month of May or June before the end of the financial year, we'll provide a 10% discount on what we provide. And most importantly is get in quick to avoid disappointment, because you can only do so much before the end of financial year. The time is running out. You can purchase the 1Spatial's One Data Gateway or 1Integrate products and receive a 15% discount off the recommended retail price. And finally, if you purchase FME training before the end of financial year, the 31st of June 2021, you'll get a 10% off the list price. You don't need to use it straight away. You can put it in the bank and say, well, okay, we will want to do that in September or October, November, so on and so on. So it becomes available, and you have 12 months to use that training credits up. So hurry, don't miss out, maximize your savings. Until the end of June, this offer is available. On that, I'd like to thank everybody that has attended this morning or today's World Fair 2021 event. We will be running another event on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday of next week. Each one of them will be different. They will have different case studies and case examples of how FME is being used in the real world. And we welcome you to attend. And on that note, I'd like to thank everybody for your time. And I look forward to catching up with you on Tuesday next week. Have a good weekend, safe one, and we look forward to catching up with you then. Bye-bye.